Hey gang, Bill Sheridan with the Maryland Association of CPAs here. And this week here is someplace different. I'm not in my usual place, which is my home office in St. Louis, Missouri. This week I'm in a hotel room in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm here at the 2024 ASAE annual meeting. And for the uninitiated among you, ASAE, that's the American Society of Association Executives, basically the Association of Associations, and just more proof that there's an association for everything out there, right? But anyway, happy Monday. Before I head out to the conference, I wanted to introduce you to this week's CPA Purpose interview. Our guest this week is Michael Kimbrough. Michael is a professor of accounting and chair of the Department of Accounting and Information Assurance at the Robert H. Smith School of Business. That's at the University of Maryland, former member of the MACPA's board of directors as well. But Michael has a great perspective on the purpose of the CPA. And here's what he says. He says CPAs get to know all parts of the business. And in knowing all parts of the business, they are in a unique position to identify things that can be done better. So in essence, you're a person who can directly facilitate key decisions at the organization. And how cool is that? I mean, how many people can actually say that about their job? I mean, talk about influential, right? Great insights this week from a guy who knows what he's talking about. Here's Michael Kimbrough with his CPA story.
I actually did not formally study accounting in college. I was a liberal arts major, so I studied economics in college. But I did take a fair number of accounting courses.
Okay.
I'm at the business school. So, so I had some exposure to accounting. And then as a liberal arts major, there's not always a job, that you can readily be slotted into coming out of undergraduate. But one of the job I ended up taking was at Pricewaterhouse. So they were looking for people to fill entry level positions who were not necessarily accounting majors, but liberal arts majors,
Okay.
but who could do some of that first year audit work. So I started the job, and as I said before, I had taken a fair number of accounting classes before. So um, at that point, after I worked there for a year, I decided I'm so close to being able to sit for the CPA exam, I should just take the additional courses because I wanted to keep pace with my colleagues that I started with at the firm. So I saw them progressing. So whereas if I had not gone on and taken additional coursework, I would have stagnated
Right.
in that position, or I would have had to find something else to do, maybe go back to school. But I decided I liked what I was doing, and I liked my colleagues, and I don't know, I liked the cohort environment. So I started with a cohort. So I liked being with young people, starting our lives together, starting our careers together with a group
Yeah.
of about, let's say, 20 other people. So I think probably there was some just keeping up with my peers that kind of kept me going and realizing that there was a pathway for me to take the CPA exam with the coursework I already had, even though I wasn't officially an accounting major.
Yeah. And you've got, I mean, with your background, it's kind of an interesting way of approaching the next couple of questions. But I mean, you've got
Mhm.
that public accounting background, and now you're, as an educator, uh, you're teaching the next generation of accountants and CPAs to come along. So I guess my first question is, given that really kind of broad and diverse background that you've got, what do you see as the purpose or the why behind this type of work? What do you accomplish as an accountant, as a CPA?
Um, I think that as an accountant, you really get to know all parts of a business. That's in order to do an audit. I know a lot of people think that an audit is very compliance oriented, but in order to do an effective audit, you need to know all parts of a business. And in the course of knowing all parts of a business, you really are in a position to um, identify things that could be done better.
Mm-hmm.
So I really see it as helping facilitate key decisions at an organization. So I think sometimes people think of it, oh, you're compliance oriented, so you sit over in the corner while the big kids make the decisions. But actually, I think the accountants are the ones that really are front and center of all the decision making because they kind of tell you what's possible and they can kind of help you model out different scenarios. They can kind of help you figure out cause and effect relationships. So if we do this, then this will be the likely outcome. They can help you figure out what the drivers of success in your organization and the sources of vulnerabilities in your organization. So I mean that's a pretty powerful toolkit that arms you to really make a difference. And it's not limited just to for profit. It's wherever you want to make an influence, I think you can. So you can, if you want to, obviously, if you want to help businesses to be even more profitable, that skill set will allow you to do that. But if you want to help nonprofit organizations fulfill their missions, whatever those missions may be, they still need to be able to marshal resources to operate effectively and to be sustainable in the long run. If you want to help our governmental institutions, maintain the soundness and stability of their operations, accounting really is, I think, front and center of being able to, get your arms around an organization and figure out how to make it run better.
Really kind of a wide-ranging profession when you look at it through that lens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, what's most gratifying for you? What inspires you about the work that you do?
Well, I thought about that when I was in public accounting, and I thought about, well, what do I like about my job? So I like writing and I like analysis. So I like that at those times in on my engagements when I had to really think through tough issues and I had to do research and then I had to write it up and make it, convincing and persuasive to others. So I like that part of my job. I also liked the part of my job where I was, helping younger people or less experienced people develop. So I found sometimes I would devote more time to that than to my own work, and that probably would get me in trouble on occasion. But I really thought it was important that that I be there for the less experienced people, and that I help them understand how the work they did fit within the structure of the overall audit. So those when I thought about those things, I thought that's kind of what moved me towards education because I thought I could do both of those. Because basically education or an educational career as a scholar, really there's a research aspect which emphasizes writing and analytical thinking, but then there's also working with young people and helping them. And then for them, I like when I teach young people, I like to broaden their perspective about what accounting is. I want them to think that I want them to realize it's not just numbers, but that it's really, once you have the numbers, so, that's kind of the least interesting part. The interesting part is how do you arrive at the numbers? So we have textbook examples and they give you stylized scenarios where they give you a list of transactions and you're told how to account for it. But really, what I try to get the students to think about was, well, how do you know that that's what happened? Because in the real world, you don't get a list of transactions like that. You actually have to know what's going on in your business to know what needs to be accounted for. You're not necessarily always given the dollar amount. There's measurement issues that you have to deal with. How do you know that this is the right dollar amount? How do you know this is the right time to recognize revenue? How do you know, various things related to measurement and recognition that are behind those numbers. So I really tell them, okay, well, learning how to account, learning the debits and credits and how we would account for this in a debit and credit framework, that's really the least interesting part of what we're going to be learning. The more interesting part is how do you get an understanding of your business so that you get to the point where you know what needs to be accounted for? Because once you know what needs to be accounted for, you can give it to your bookkeeper and they can do that. But it's your judgment that's going to really inform your understanding of the transactions and the measurement of those transactions.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it might actually answer part of my next question for you too. But
Mhm.
you were talking about having an influence or an impact on young people and their future and their career paths. If you were faced, and I'm sure you often are, with
Mhm.
high school or college students who are kind of struggling to figure out where they want to go or what do they want to study, or where their life is going to take them, what would you tell them about accounting as a possible career path?
I would tell them it is a very versatile degree. It's a degree that exposes them to all parts of the business. All parts of the business meet at accounting. Accounting is kind of the nexus that connects all parts of the business. So again, I would tell them it puts you in a very powerful position to drive outcomes in whatever organization that you're at. Um, I would also tell them again that it allows you to make a difference in whatever sphere that you want to have an influence in. Um, and yeah, I would tell them it can add value to anything else you want to study. So I wouldn't say it's like, oh, you study accounting or information systems. I would say you could do both, accounting and information systems. But I would say accounting by itself is a very versatile degree that leads to many different career paths, arms you for success in many different areas. And then I would say that it adds value to anything else, any other passion that you have. So if you have some other passion that you have, accounting can only add value to it.
Great stuff there from Michael Kimbrough. So glad he could take time out of his busy schedule to be here today. We want to hear from you as well. So head on over to macpa.org/Y and share your story with us as we try to offer a little bit of inspiration to the next generation of accounting and finance professionals. We want to hear what your CPA story is too. So consider helping us out there. And in the meantime, just, thanks for being here. We'll be back again next week. More stories to share then. And until then, have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.